white pride delegate for Trump, who her name is Lori Gayne. She used a racial slur in a Facebook post saying that she was waiting for cops to shoot black protesters. Yeah, she says, our brave snipers just waiting for some N to try something. Love them. Obviously, once there was blowback, she took it all down, and she was admonished, and essentially they washed their hands of her, the Illinois Republican Party. They said that we have zero tolerance for racism of any kind and threats of violence against anyone. But it gives you a sense of how this hate speech can begin to take on a life among the delegates and then among the populace. I mean, that's why hate speech is dangerous.
Yeah, and Trump has given legitimacy to it. That's the reality. And to say that he takes now, and we'll come on to David Duke in a minute, so I don't want to kind of like put the cart before the horse, but to say that he doesn't take any responsibility for his protesters, and he was, my supporters are passionate, and I can't count. He legitimizes their behavior. He legitimizes and has put into the mainstream this type of an approach, and it's just evidence from, I think, from the GOP party platform and from the discussions surrounding it, how white and how that pernicious element of white supremacy is invading and has infused itself into the GOP. When you have Steve King of Iowa declaring that white people have contributed more to the advancement of human civilization than any other subgroup of people.
Well, that was insanity. That was bald-faced racism.
When you have David Clark, that Milwaukee sheriff, coming on and spouting out what he was spouting out, and he tweeted out Blue Lives Matter was going to team up with ISIS. When you have when you have Scott Baio, whatever his freaking name, I can never pronounce his last name properly. Baio. I knew I was going to get it wrong. Baio saying, we don't just want to make America great again. We want to make America again.
Yeah.
What does that say to you? I know, because I know what it says to me, and I wasn't even. I wouldn't satisfy.
You want to
the
get
Bertha
people
test.
who talk like you out, Elliot.
Right. I wouldn't satisfy the Bertha test. Let's just be honest. But I got a pretty good idea where you're going with that. Where he's going with that sentiment. Yeah. And it comes back to that point that you very, very articulately made. You said, is it coming back, was it the Second World War when, we had racial segregation? For a lot of people, it probably was. Is it, and I think that person went on, I don't know if you have the quote there, she went on to say, I really like things back in the, was it the 30s, the 40s? I mean, some bygone era that never existed in the first place.
What Elliot's talking about is they got to her and they said, well, what was it about this campaign that appealed to you in the first place? And she said, well, Trump's campaign slogan, Make America Great Again, which we've talked about, was very appealing to me. And she says, he's taking America back to where we were in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Because for some people, I guess those are the decades that mattered.
Yeah, they just want to wear spandex, listen to Milli Vanilli, and just pretend a time when they thought they were actual artists. And I don't know what it is.
And I don't even know what, when you look back at the 60s, it was one of the most tumultuous decades in our nation's modern history. I mean, the civil rights movement was going through terrible, terrible changes, meaning the society was trying to come to grips with its lack of civil rights. Martin Luther King assassinated, RFK assassinated, and go on and on. And JFK assassinated. I mean, this was but don't try to make sense of some of the things that that a hateful Trump delegate says. I mean, I really believe that, so trying to figure out, well, what does she mean when she says 67? She's just talking. She's just talking.
Yeah, I know, and it's tempting to kind of dismiss it, but I do think that it makes me, when I was looking at these stories in advance of coming on, and just the, how they start to piece together, it makes me, and I don't want to overstate this, but it makes me very fearful. It makes me really concerned and deeply troubled.
Well, to that point, if you look at the convention, the things that concern me were that mob mentality kind of groupthink that does begin to set in. When you, I understand that you're trying to get the crowd to call back to the stage. I mean, it's a tried and true, almost hack thing, but conventions are kind of hack anyway. So I'll give you credit for it. But when that lock her up, right, then becomes something worse than lock her up, you get the crowd and those who hear your message, not even in the hall, but beyond, you get them into a fervor about doing something against Hillary. And they demonize to the point that bad things happen. It has a toxicity, and we see it here in that white pride Trump delegate.